And we are live because I'm recording. Hello, everyone. So today's webinar, as you all know, is From Cotton Swab to Q-Tip, How to Create Your Own Brand by Emily Kelchin. I'm going to tell you a little background on Emily. She is the founder of Kelchin Consulting. As a natural-born community builder and storyteller, Emily has a knack for helping businesses and organizations figure out who their target audience is and how to best connect them. She uses these insights to help lawyers, interest groups, and community organizations find new clients, supporters, and members and advance their causes. Emily is a skilled writer and content creator, and her articles, editorials, and infographics have been used by numerous organizations. She has also been published under her own name by the New Jersey State Bar Association, the State Bar of Wisconsin, and the Federalist Society for Law and Public Policy. As a founding member of the New Jersey Law Journal's Young Lawyers Advisory Board, she also helps draft a monthly law journal feature focusing on issues of interest to new attorneys. So without further ado, here we have Emily Kelchin.
Hello, and thank you for having me here this afternoon. I'm so excited to talk with you all. I wanted to give a little bit more of a personal introduction to me. I grew up in Missouri, then went to law school in Wisconsin, and now I make my home in Flemington, New Jersey. So I'm a bit of a traveler. I left law school after I graduated from law school. I worked as a lobbyist for 10 years. And then I started doing a little bit of like marketing, moonlighting on the weekends, and ghostwriting for other attorneys for their websites. And then when I had some changes at my work, I decided, I like doing this marketing stuff a lot more than I like being a lobbyist. So I opened up my own marketing company. I've been doing that ever since. But since I am an attorney, my main clients are often other attorneys. But I do work with a lot of community organizations, and I was so delighted to get the invitation to speak with Dress for Success because I've long admired this organization.
Oh, Emily, I think we lost you.
Yeah, it looks static.
Which one is which?
Wait, Emily, you say it back. It cut off.
Oh, okay. So my husband is also on a video call, and sometimes our internet freaks out. So just tell me if that happens. But I was saying, I'm definitely not the Emily Kelchin that owns a bakery in Iowa. I don't know if I'm even related to her, perhaps through my husband, I don't know. But it should be very clear and easy to tell the two Emily Kelchins apart because we have very different career paths. That being said, sometimes I still get orders for cupcakes in my inbox. Those people aren't getting any cupcakes. So what that tells me is that the other Emily Kelchin needs to do a bit better job marketing her bakery, and I need to do a bit better job distinguishing myself as an attorney that lives in New Jersey, not a baker in Iowa. So that brings me to the title of today's program, From Cotton Swab to Q-Tip. And I have some of my trusty Q-tips right here. Does anybody actually call this anything other than a Q-tip? And this is an interactive program. I'm sorry if nobody warned you that.
Yes,
No.
air cleaners.
You call them air cleaners? Nice. So even when I'm not buying name brand Q-tips, I still call them Q-tips. Are there any other products you guys can think of where there's a brand name that has actually become the name that we call a product?
Kleenex.
Kleenex, yeah.
Definitely Kleenex.
Pampers.
Frigidaire.
Oh, yep.
Sorry.
For New Jersey, I always think of Band-Aids.
Yeah.
Johnson & Johnson does not want us to call bandages Band-Aids. So the whole point of today's program is to turn you from a common cotton swab into a Q-tip, or from a facial tissue into a Kleenex. And what I mean by that is when an employer is looking to hire or promote, I want them to think, oh, hey, I need to hire Emily, not I need to hire an attorney. I need to hire an Emily. And that's the same kind of thing I want you to be thinking of. I think branding gets a bad reputation, or perhaps gets thought of as like an Instagram influencer where you're peddling yourself for money. But really, it's about building your authentic reputation and how you want others to see you into something that people can find basically on the internet, because that's how job searches happen today. So that's what we're going to be focusing on. So I'm sorry to be looking down, but my notes are down here. So I want us to kind of get into the branding mindset. So I'm going to share my screen here with you all. And I want you to take a look at the product I have open and tell me what words come to mind when you see this company's advertising. And this is their LinkedIn page.
McDonald's.
The McDonald's.
Yeah, McDonald's, Golden Arches.
What kind of adjectives do you think of when you think of McDonald's?
Landowner,
I would say colorful, bright.
Is anybody feeling any emotions?
Hungry.
Yeah, I feel
I-
it's Free Fry Friday, people. Let's go.
Oh,
So it's interesting that we can have an emotional or a descriptive response to something that's clearly meant to sell us a product. Now I want to switch over to a different brand. And this is also a food brand, Chipotle, but their advertising is very different from McDonald's advertising. What do you think of when you see this advertising?
Fresh ingredients.
being at home.
Okay.
Yep.
I think of a company that's trying to be hip and cool and show us that it's young. Like, to me, McDonald's kind of makes me think of when I was young. Like, it makes me want a Happy Meal. But Chipotle makes me think of when I was in college. So it makes me think different things, and it recalls different emotions based on the different photos and advertising and the words they're saying to us and the message they're trying to communicate to us. They're both trying to sell us food, but they're doing so in very different ways, and it makes the companies have a certain personality. So lest we think this branding is all about companies, I want to pull up another Instagram account and see what you all think of. All right. So what kind of emotions or adjectives do you think of when you see Oprah's account?
Fun,
authentic,
authentic, positive.
Great. So she also tries to sell us stuff, but it's not as explicit as the food companies. And it also makes us feel like, you know, she's a real person, but maybe we could be friends with her. All right, so she has a very strong brand. Now I'm going to switch to another celebrity. What do you think of when you see this Instagram feed?
sorry,
Beauty.
all I think about is her, you know what?
It's a bit of a thirst trap. Yeah.
Very phony, I don't.
Yeah.
Mixed messages.
Well,
Plastic
Yeah.
surgery. I don't know.
I don't
family,
think
fashion,
I don't think she'd want to be my
anything sex. Odd combo.
Yeah, I think it feels to me like definitely she's trying to sell me something, much more than the Oprah page feels like someone that wants to connect and be my friend. the Kim Kardashian page feels like someone that wants to sell me things. Even though she tries to incorporate pictures of her family, it still feels very commercial and fake. Whereas Oprah's, like someone mentioned, it feels authentic. So I want us to be more like Oprah when we're thinking about branding. We're thinking about showing who we are on the inside, not the fake plastic version of ourselves. We're not trying to be Kim Kardashian, even though people associate her with branding. That's not who we're trying to be. We're trying to be more like Oprah, where we're showing authentic parts of ourselves that lets people connect with us and feel like we could be a valued part of their life. And that is important, especially in today's world, as our employers are moving more of their job search and more of their promotion decisions into the virtual space. I think there's very few employers today who are not Googling their candidates before they're bringing them in for final interviews and making those final decisions. And I think we've all probably been warned about the fact that we shouldn't be posting certain things on social media. Does anybody have an example of something they've been told not to post?
A picture of you with a drink in your hand.
Yes.
I've been told that multiple times.
Mhm.
I've also been told don't post photos where you look like you're dressing like Kim Kardashian. I've been told not to post things that bash my employer.
Oh, yeah. Mhm.
So I think we get told a lot of don'ts and like finger wagging, like don't do this, don't mess up your life with social media. And the don'ts are important to think about. And I'm not encouraging you to post those things, but I'm encouraging you to think broader about what's the good stuff that you can post. Because when an employer does a Google search of you, if the stuff that comes up at the top on the first page is really positive and paints you in a beautiful, amazing, I want to hire this person light, they're not going to scroll through to page 3 and see photos of you holding a beer in your hand. They're going to take the first photos they find, the first information they find about you, and if that's positive, they're not going to see it as a red flag. They're going to hire you. So I want to start thinking about ways we can be more intentional about what we're putting out on social media to build our reputations and build our brands so that we are attractive to employers. So the first thing, and you might actually want to get a pen and paper or a note function in your phone and jot down a few ideas here. If you met someone new, or say I'm meeting all of you for the first time today, what are 4 or 5 things that you would want to tell the new person about yourself that you think describe your best attributes, that you think would make me interested in learning more about you, following up with you? So go ahead and take a couple minutes and just, think about that, jot it down. The next thing I want you to think of is if your friends were telling one of their friends that you don't know, so a friend of a friend, your friends are telling their friends about you, what do you hope they're saying about you? Ideally, the things you're writing down are true about you and not lies. especially the things you would tell me about yourself, they should be true. Because even though we're working on branding, and I remember we're not trying to be Kim Kardashian, we're trying to be authentic. So I want you to be truthful to yourself about who you are as a person. And like you can post on social media. I could post on social media like I love dogs, but if you met me in person with your dog, like I'm kind of scared of dogs. I got bit by a dog as a child. They make me uncomfortable. So I could write on social media that I like dogs because that would make people like me. But if they met me in person and asked me like, "Oh, how's your dog?" or like, "Want to pet my dog?" they would find out right away I lied. So be truthful. And then if you boiled this down and like really compressed it into 4 or 5 things, that's essentially your brand. Like, ta-da, you're done. So to give an example, I'm going to tell you what mine is, because I've actually done this exercise myself. So mine is that I give marketing advice. I'm an attorney. I value giving back to my community, and I like to travel. I'm going to pull up my business Instagram account, which honestly I don't post on a lot, but it's an example of what I'm talking about. So the first ones are about events I was doing today. These are things I've written, places I've gone, marketing advice, advice about working from home, travel, highlighting that I'm an attorney, being part of the community, attorney. I just thought that was funny. Marketing advice, community, a little glimpse into my favorite sports team, attorney, marketing advice, travel. So you can see I'm hitting on these same topics all the time because I'm trying to build my brand and my reputation as a marketer that specifically works with attorneys and knows how to do attorney stuff because I am an attorney. And then, so I am very intentional about what I post on my business account. And I don't want to advise you to create a separate account for job searching or for your business. Like if you only are putting out personal information on personal accounts, that's fine. I don't think you need to start from scratch. You can delete stuff that you don't think highlights your positive attributes or you don't want to be known for anymore. But I don't think you need to start from scratch. And to show you that, I'm actually going to pull up my personal Instagram account, which I'm not as an intentional about, but when you look at it, you actually see that I do kind of highlight the same stuff, except that I also post about food a lot because I'm hungry. So it's community, travel, food, marketing advice. This is my side hustle. Travel, food, community, travel, lawyer stuff, food, travel, lawyer stuff, food. So even when I wasn't really being intentional on my personal account as I am on my business account, when I took a look at it, I realized I was still putting out there things that highlight my brand because my brand really is who I am. So I hope you can take those adjectives and descriptors that we kind of brainstormed a few minutes ago and start to think about how you can reflect those. And this can be not just on Instagram or on social media accounts, but this could also be in your resume. It can be in how you dress. It can be in how you speak on the phone. It's a way to present yourself to the world. And as an example of that, like I'm wearing a big statement necklace today. If I knew I was going to meet you ladies again some other time, I might wear this necklace again because you would recognize me. Oh, she was that marketing lady. I remember that necklace. And I do that when I go to a lot of networking events, or I'll wear the dress that I'm wearing in my headshot on LinkedIn and on my personal website because I know the people I'm meeting might remember the colors or the way I look much more than they'll remember my name. And maybe that will help them remember my name and remember what we talked about. So it's about building a cohesive brand. And I mean, I'm focusing on social media today because, as I said, so much of the job search environment and the promotion environment is online today. But I think this spills over your brand. If it's authentic to you, it's going to spill over into all aspects of your life. So once you know what your brand is, what are you going to do with it? And the answer is you're going to advertise. So we were joking earlier that free is good. And I don't mean you're actually going to put money behind this. Most of these social media accounts are free. But as one of my good friends says, they're free like a puppy, not free like a beer. If you want them to work for you, you're actually going to have to put some effort and time into it. So this is what we're going to talk about now, are like those first steps of how to train that puppy that is the free social media. So the first is to figure out, who are you actually talking to? So when I moved to New Jersey, I didn't know anybody here at all. I don't have family here or anything. We moved for my husband's job. And I wasn't barred. I wasn't licensed in the bar here. I had to take the bar exam. So the first thing I did was lock down all my personal social media accounts because I didn't want them to see anything I didn't want them to see. The next thing I did was I started to post on my LinkedIn account because I don't really consider that personal. It's like an online resume. I started posting on LinkedIn that I was interested in these topics of the law and that I had these areas of expertise, and I would make comments and use hashtags that I knew people that were hiring in these areas were looking at. And I also set my status to let recruiters know that I was open to being hired. I started going to events. Sorry, there's like a trash truck outside. I started going to events with people that I knew would be hiring. So I started going to state bar events, even though I wasn't barred here yet. They let you go anyway. I started going to Federalist Society events, which is another lawyer organization. I'm very active in my church community, so I started going not just on Sundays, but I would go when there was like a regional gathering. And then I'm also active in the Daughters of the American Revolution. So I became a member here in a local chapter and started going to DAR events here in New Jersey. So my goal was to make myself known to these people that I'm here and I'm very hireable and I'm pleasant to work with. And so I started putting out that message both in person and then complementing it online by posting about those things I cared about. I didn't post about the church stuff because some employers don't care for that. But I did post about all the lawyer events I go to. I post about the history events I go to because I like history, and sometimes when I'm in a job interview, people will talk to me about that because they like history too. And I also post about baseball and the Green Bay Packers a lot because a lot of hiring people are men, and that's something that they find, I guess, charming or unusual that I care about that. And I actually do care about the Packers. I'm a team owner, so I'm going to post about that and give something that a hiring manager might want to talk to me about, but it also becomes part of my brand. So I figured out where these people were in person, but then my next step was figuring out where they are online and where they are, like what newspapers they read. And I got myself interviewed in the New Jersey Law Journal, which all the attorneys in the state read. And I started posting in social media groups that I knew other people were looking at, that I knew were hiring. And that's like how I wormed my way into having a reputation in New Jersey and ended up getting a job that hadn't even been posted. They actually fired someone to bring me on, which I don't recommend going somewhere where they fire someone all the time. Side note. So you're finding out where these people are hanging out online and you're making your presence known in those places. And once again, you layer that with offline behaviors as well, because these people are going to meet you in the real world eventually, and you want your online persona to match who you are offline. So what kind of stuff are we going to be posting about online? So what are some examples? You can write down in your notes. Here's my question. What activities are you involved in that highlight the positive aspects of your brand that you want others to know about? So I was involved with the state bar, so I started posting a lot about being involved with the state bar because I knew that was important. But in your industry, in your life, what organizations are you a part of that you can start posting about the activities you do online? And it can be anything. Like I said, I post about going to Daughters of the American Revolution stuff because that's important to me and it's interesting and it builds my reputation as someone unique. I have a client that I work with who's very into cigars. And so he posts about when he meets up with people at cigar bars and different cigars that he tries. And he says like 20% of the new clients that walk in his door talk to him about cigars because they're cigar people too. And the next question to consider, are there any topics that you have expertise in that other people may not? If there is, and I'm sure there is because everybody's an expert on something, you should post the articles that you're reading, share them with your network, and write 1 or 2 sentences about what was interesting in that article to you, or what you thought about that article, or a question you wish they would have answered in the article. It highlights that you read interesting material and that you have an insight into that area that you can share with others. If you're at a total loss and you don't really know what to do, you can think about who are the thought leaders in your industry or who are the people at the top of your industry. If you can find them on social media or their business on social media, you can start following them and monitoring what they post. And you can engage with it by liking it and sharing it. But you can also start to post similar material of your own. For example, there's a big marketing company that I compete with. And when I first started in this area, I was having trouble figuring out like how to get clients. So I looked at what they were posting on social media and started emulating some of the language they used, not copying it outright, but using some of the similar pitch and tone that they use to get more attention to my posts, and that worked. And then if you get really into this and you're really enjoying it, the final, like the ultimate tier of this and like what I work with clients on the most is planning ahead. So I print out a calendar for the year and I go through it with my clients and I say, what holidays are really important to you personally? And what holidays are important in your industry? Like in the legal industry, the first Monday in October is the day the United States Supreme Court comes back into session after their summer break. So I have all my law firm clients celebrating first Monday. And that's not something like normal people don't care about that, but it shows that you're a lawyer is paying attention to the law. I told you I'm a fan of baseball. Very sad there's no season this year. Usually on my social media accounts, I post about opening day of baseball because that's like a holiday to me. I start thinking about conferences that I'm going to attend. I mark those out on my calendar and I find out what the hashtag for that conference is going to be. So I can start following the speakers, promoting that I'm going, And when I'm at that conference, I make a conscious effort to make it known on social media that I am there. And that's something you need to be cautious about if you have security concerns, obviously. If you don't want people to know, sometimes my husband and I are at conferences at the same time, and one of us will post but not the other because we don't want people to know that our house is empty. I also have a client I work with who has an ex-husband who stalks her, and so she never posts about what she is at currently. She'll post when she gets home. She'll do a recap. So it's just about being smart about it, and it is something you need to think of. And then finally, I also like to celebrate my alma mater. I went to undergrad in Missouri and then law school at Wisconsin. So I like to talk about those and celebrate those as well, because I think it shows my educational credentials in a way that's not like show off-y. So that is kind of in a nutshell how you build a basic personal brand, figure out who you're going to advertise to, and then put an advertising strategy and calendar into place. And now I'm ready to take any questions you all might have. If you want to talk about specific platforms or question or like examples, I'm happy. If you want to talk more broadly, that's fine as well.
Hi, Emily. Thank you for the presentation. This is Kelly.
Hi.
Hi, how would you make your elevator pitch?
So it depends on who I'm talking to. So if I'm talking to a community organization, I talk to them, I say, hi, I'm Emily Kelchin. I run a marketing consulting company where I help organizations tap into their membership and get their members more engaged and involved, and also grow their membership. If I'm talking to a law firm, I say, oh, hi, I'm Emily. I'm also an attorney. We'll talk about that for a little bit. And they'll be like, oh, yeah, I don't practice anymore. I actually run a marketing company, and I specialize on working on attorneys, helping them build their book of business.
Thanks.
Did any of you want to share I know you guys know each other, so did anybody want to share their brand description and get feedback from the others in this group?
Anyone? Ellen, you're looking at yours. I know you want to share it. We didn't hear you.
Oh, I have pages and pages of notes I'm taking. This is one of my my greatest challenges. I mean, my LinkedIn profile is terrible. Every resume is a arduous task because I feel like I'm not good at anything. I'm like homogenized. I'm like okay at a lot of different things, and I feel like sometimes my strength is that I can go across departments. So I have manufacturing experience in medical devices, all the way through customer support and delivering technology solutions to customers. I feel like I'm not an expert any place. And maybe some people want to hire a generalist, but I don't know if that's really the norm nowadays. So this is where I've struggled. I don't know how to differentiate myself. I struggle.
My advice would be to customize your material, like your resume, obviously, but also if there's a job that you find that you really, really want, I would start posting on social media things that are relevant to that particular job. And I understand that you're probably applying to a lot of jobs at the same time, but if there's one that you just really think would be a good fit for you, really start to tailor your branding to appeal to that employer. You're not lying because you do care about that stuff. You know about that stuff, but it's just showing a very particular segment of yourself. It's like not showing the beer can photos. You're not showing them the other stuff you know because they don't care about it. You're showing them the stuff that they care about.
So identify the job that I really want, and then use all the advice you have. See where the people in that industry or that role or that company, what they read, what they're posting, and join that conversation basically. Don't
Yeah.
worry about being so thinned out. Just focus on that. Okay, that's great advice. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyone else wants to share? No? Kathleen, you want to share?
Sure. I have more than 3 or 4 though. So the first question, I forget what the question was, but how I would describe organized, prepared, follow through, baker, volunteer, leader, helps others. And looking for a job like community relations, nonprofit, event planning, along those lines, which is a transition for me.
And those adjectives that you said, the organized, the cares about the community, that fits right into that job search. So when you're job searching, I mean, try and post the most about those characteristics that you think the employer cares about. You can post about baking. That's cool. People like to see stuff like that, but your post shouldn't be all about baking when you're trying to get hired. You should post really more, like 90% job relevant stuff, 10% I'm a cool person that you would want to hang out with. Stuff.
Okay. Yeah, I never thought of it going, like you told Ellen, going from the job that you want and posting that way. So that's an interesting way of looking at it.
Well, I try and describe it from yourself out instead of from the job in, because I think it is important to be authentic. Like I could make myself look really appealing to a certain employer or a certain client online, but when they met me in person, they would be disappointed. So it is important to be authentic. Don't lie about the stuff that you're interested in or that you have expertise in, because you're a great person and you just need to show and highlight the good stuff about you.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I have a question. So, what I am passionate about work-wise and get paid to do has nothing to do with what I enjoy doing professionally, personally. Should I know I heard you say don't split like your interests, but they have nothing to do with each other.
Sure. I think I could have made that more clear. So I showed you my personal Instagram account and my business Instagram account.
Mm-hmm.
If I showed you guys my personal Facebook page, it's all like pictures of my garden and things I've cooked and pictures of my family. It doesn't talk about my business. I actually did post about today's thing because I really like Dress for Success, and I think it's cool that I got to talk to you guys. But I don't post about my business on my personal Facebook because the people on there don't care. And then if I showed you my LinkedIn account, there's no pictures of me with my husband. There's not any pictures of flowers. It's all business all the time, except I do post about history and sports a little bit because I don't want to seem like a robot. I want people to know I'm an actual person, but it's all business all the time.
Okay, thank you. And we at Dress for Success like you too.
Anyone else wants to share? No?
Actually, I have a question.
Oh,
go ahead.
All right. So, and I know this is going a little bit different than should we be looking at the analytics of our page to see who we're actually, or to see the data of what demographics that we're targeting, if we're actually targeting them, and then make adjustments? Or how could we make adjustments once we realize from the data that we're getting from our pages is not who we want to target? So say I want to target women from ages 20 to 40, but I'm getting teenagers from and college students that's coming to my page. Then how do I like switch, I guess pivot to get to the actual right demographics that I'm trying to follow?
Right, that's a great question, and it's a little bit more advanced than what we were talking about today. If you're comfortable looking at the analytics, that's fantastic. So I would say if you're comfortable doing that, look at your audience, compare it to your ideal audience. So when I'm advertising myself, I want to advertise to attorneys that work in firms that are less than 15 people because I know that's who hires me. If I start to put out content and it gets starting picked up by people that work at giant firms that have an in-house marketing person that I know there's no way they'd ever hire me for anything because they have their own person under contract, I'll look at what I've been posting and think about why is this attracting the wrong attention, and I'll shift and I try and think like if I was the person that I want to hire me, like I think about the person I'm advertising to, I think about what they want to see, and I think about what I can show of myself that appeals to that they want to see. So I'm still being honest about who I am and my areas of expertise, but I'm just tailoring it to the people that I actually want to speak to. And it actually, so if that doesn't work, I start to think about, am I on the right platform? So maybe I shouldn't be focused on social media. Maybe I need to get quoted or appear in the print newspaper, the New Jersey Law Journal, more often. So maybe it's that I've been spending all my time on Instagram when really I should have been focusing on getting myself in the newspaper. So you're identifying your audience and figuring out who they are and where they are. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
And I just wanted to say, I know that sharing your core brand is uncomfortable. So I'm not surprised that you guys don't want to do it. I don't actually like sharing mine with you guys. But I would encourage you to take that information and share it with like your best friend or your spouse, someone that knows you really well, and they can tell you if you're on the right track. If you have a mentor or if you have someone in your office that knows that you're like looking for a promotion or you're looking to move on, that you can be honest with. I think it is good to get some feedback about like, this is how I'm pitching myself. This is how I'm advertising myself to the world. Do you think this is me? And if it's not you, like be honest with yourself and be willing to listen to the feedback they're going to give you. Because like Ellen, you were saying you think you're mediocre at everything. I think if you talk to some of your coworkers or some of your family members, they could help you figure out what you're really excellent at, because they have a different opinion of you than you have of yourself.
So if we don't have any more questions, no one else has a question or a concern?
I guess I have a concern.
Okay, go ahead, Kiva.
And I guess it's becoming a theme. I'm pretty much a Luddite. Like I was asked by a law firm actually, what was, could I link them to my social media? And I went, no. You know, it was something like a job, but like, I grew up like being taught to read between the lines. And so like right now I'm specifically interested in bias. And I wouldn't want to be judged. I have a close family member who was an executive for 2 presidents. And she always said, I don't ask a person what they do, I ask what they enjoy doing. And so in the professional realm, I just want to be professional. I don't like, and I do, I read between the lines. So when you started and you showed the adverts for McDonald's, the first thing I thought about was, regardless of the pictures, the underlying fact is that they own more property than anything else. I know it appears like they sell food, but actually they're property owners. They own more property, I think, than any other American company. When you show Chipotle, the first thing I thought of is, wow, they're owned by McDonald's. They're based in Mexico and they're owned by McDonald's. When you use the name of Kardashian as a brand, I kept thinking, why are we judging her? We don't actually know her. And, you know, if her brand is a family that's making money on what they do and that's what they do, why do I want to judge her? You know, being from Colonial Williamsburg in Jamestown myself, if someone had DAR on their resume and I was hiring, I wouldn't want to exercise my perspective. You know, being a daughter of the Powhatan, for instance, I wouldn't want to, you know, so I'm pretty cautious and I would prefer to fly under the radar and support, you know, my company and its mission statement, or my law firm, or, you know. So what about people like me? I don't feel like I fit into this whole social, you know, let me put myself out there and pitch myself. I'd rather just work, you know. So is there a place for me in this arena?
I think there definitely is. And I think that your brand is not going to be on social media because that's, you don't feel like it. And that's not important to you. But your brand is in person. So obviously it sounds like you're a very compassionate person. So I'm guessing there's community organizations you're involved with. Be yourself at those organizations. You know, that's going to build your reputation in the community. Social media is a shortcut for building your brand, building your reputation. And it's the most convenient way for employers to figure out who you are. So that's why we're talking about that today. But if it's not for you, it's not for you. But you're still putting a brand out into the world, and you can still be conscious of what message you're sending to other people. And I think that comes across in the way you behave in your community, the groups you're involved in, the way you socialize with the people you work with, the peeks at the glimpses at the true you that you let other people that don't know you intimately see.
Thank you.
All right, anyone else? Okay, so I think, Emily, that's a wrap. Thank you so much for giving us so much information and taking your time to facilitate today. And thank you everyone for joining us. Have a great weekend. And that's it.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much, Emma.
Thank
Thank you
you.
all
Thank you,
for
Thank you
Emily.
very much. Bye-bye.
Have a good one, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Make a great weekend, everyone.
Thank you.